Hello, Yoni Katz here. And this video literally took a year and a half to make, and I'll explain why. For those of you who have been following my channel for the last 12, 13 years or so, and all of the classes and lectures and discussions, interviews we've made with Rabbi Manis Friedman, it's been a real journey, ups and downs, at times a lot of criticism and negativity, but for the most part, just amazing inspiration and emails from people around the world who've been following and have been inspired. But through it all, I've been wondering in the back of my mind, at a certain point, is it time for me to try to break down the perspective in my own words and share it with you in a way that's been relevant to me? And people have been telling me that I have to do that. And I've been very apprehensive, of course, because who am I? Rabbi Manis is the great teacher, the great sage, the wise man. Let me just stick to his stuff. And I think the point and time has come where sharing it in the way that I've experienced it will help people who are still on the fence or haven't heard it at all. And people always ask me, Yoni, it's time to give it up. We get it. God needs, he wants, he desires. And I've endlessly sent sources or nitpick through the intricacies of Chabad Chassidus or logic, trying to explain to them why this point that God is vulnerable and God needs us is the absolute fundamental premise of Chassidus and Torah in general. So I just wanted to share with you a conversation I had a few weeks ago, and you'll understand perhaps where I'm coming from, of course, where Rabbi Manis is coming from, where the Rebbe is coming from, and where ultimately God is coming from. We recently had this story where God wanted to wipe out the Jewish people because of the sin of the golden calf. He seemed pretty angry, upset, disturbed. And Moses, like the righteous leader he was, said, if you're going to wipe them out, erase my name from the Torah. And of course, that's why one parsha, Tetzaveh, doesn't have Moses' name in it. So a few weeks ago, I had this conversation, and I was bringing this topic up with a few rabbis. And I said, what do you think about this idea that God needs us, God needs our mitzvahs? And they said something along the lines that this is just semantics. It's a word game. Come on, what difference does it make? I said, what difference does it make if you knew that God absolutely needed you and needed the mitzvah in his essence completely? Wouldn't that change everything? And he said, I don't really get it. I said, okay, let me ask you this question. Let's say you don't do a mitzvah tomorrow. You don't put on tefillin. And it's sundown, it's shkia, you missed the opportunity. What effect does that have on God? And he looked at me and he said, 0%, no effect on God. The mitzvahs are for us. I said, no effect on God? Doesn't that seem counterintuitive to everything we've been taught since we're kids, and why Jews have self-sacrificed over the ages to do everything they can for God and the mitzvah? And there's certain mitzvahs that you have to give up your life for. Yarug v'yavor, you have to give up your life, like Maimonides says, and it has no effect on God. Even the Purim story that we just read, when the terrible situation was going on with the Jewish people and Haman wanted to wipe them out, when it comes to the 6th chapter, and we start reading about the miracle and the part of the story that changed everything, when Achashverosh, the wicked king, asked for his memory book to be brought to him, and he's told about the story of Mordechai, we raise our voice and we go, Balaylahu nadidash nasa melech. On that night, the king couldn't sleep. But of course, we're taught it's not going necessarily only on Achashverosh, but it's going on Malchus Shel Olam, the king of the universe, God. God couldn't sleep, and he was awakened to the cries and the desperation of his people, and of course, the learning of the children. So God couldn't sleep in the sense that he was disturbed. Everything we do affects God. So when people ask me, leave this point alone, and you're just trying to be inflammatory, and you like the negativity or the feedback, or you like getting attention, it couldn't be further from the truth. Now, am I saying, am I perfect? Can I be hypocritical? Of course. I'm simply sharing these videos, and hopefully more of the videos that I'm making now, because every person, the way they express it and they teach it, reaches different people. And yes, I've been very apprehensive, as I said. Rabbi Manis is the great teacher, but we need everyone, including myself and anyone who watches this video and wants to get immersed in the perspective, to be teachers of this, because very soon Mashiach is coming, and people all around the world, Jews, non-Jews, are going to be interested in only getting to know God and explore the relationship. Like it says in Maimonides, Lo ya'asa kol adam ela l'dadas Hashem. Everyone's going to be so absorbed in getting to know God. So who are the non-Jewish people going to turn to? They're going to turn to us, to me, to you, to, of course, Rabbi Manis. But it's time we band together and we start learning together. And this is forcing me to explain it, although I've been very hesitant for a long time to try to even attempt doing this. So my goal is hopefully daily, if not every other day, coming out with videos and sort of going on this exploration of seeing how I'm conveying the idea as I've been taught by Rabbi Manis, who's been taught by Rabbi Yoel Khan, the great teacher, who was taught by the Rebbe, who obviously the Rebbe himself was taught by God. And as it says by Moses, Shechina medaberes mitoch groino, the divine presence was speaking through the throat, the voice of Moses. So of course, when the Rebbe was trying to express this idea that all of our mitzvahs, all of our good deeds are absolutely necessary to God himself, when the Rebbe was teaching that profusely, especially in the later years, who was saying that? God was conveying that through the Rebbe. And therefore, in this age of history, when people are so saddened and heavy by the dark exile, God has to be more personal. God has to be more understood. The relationship has to develop. So we're starting a new series, as I said, and for some reason I'm calling it Down the Rabbi Hole. Not the rabbit hole, but down the rabbi hole. I'm a rabbi, and in the sense that I want to share the perspective, share sources, share it as it conveys to the weekly Torah portion, to the holiday, especially of Pesach, Passover that's coming up. If anyone wants to learn with me or to ask me questions, I'll try to make as much time as I can. My email is rabbiyonikatz@gmail.com. We're creating a new website called Chabad of YouTube.com, where it's going to have the sources readily available, old classes, new classes. I'm putting out new stuff with Rabbi Manis, a weekly discussion with him so we can get to the bottom of this. Is God really vulnerable? Of course he is. God needs us more than we need him. This is so basic. I do not know why people push back. When I first heard this 15 years ago, when I was with Rabbi Friedman and Michael Gerber, the famous author of the book, The E-Myth, and all these Chabad rabbis were sitting around the table trying to understand why Chabad has 4,000 Chabad houses around the world and trying to construct sort of the story of the Chabad message and Chabad philosophy, and the rabbis couldn't put it together until finally Rabbi Friedman said, only Chabad will tell you that God needs your mitzvahs, only Chabad. And you should have seen people's expression in the rooms, like, what? Some people were arguing with it. And when I heard that, I was like, wow, that makes so much sense. I never even looked at it through the lens of God. I was religious my whole life, went to yeshiva, went to Morristown, the Rabbinical College of America. And it was always like, I have to be, religious. I have to be Hasidic. I have to be, very sincere. And I have to be as holy as I can be. It never really dawned on me that God is vulnerable. Like, I thought this was like a favor that he was giving me a way to be holy. I never looked at it from God's perspective. And that moment when I heard it, little did I know how much of an effect it would have on the rest of my life and other people's lives. I went around asking people, does God need us? Does God need our mitzvahs? And at the time, people told me in Yiddish, "Wenn sich womeret." It depends which level in God you're talking about. On a certain level, yeah, this world makes a difference. The mitzvahs makes a difference. He chose this system that in this, the way that he constructed it should make a difference. And I was like, but ultimately it doesn't make a difference? Of course, they said, of course not. God doesn't need anything. God's perfect. He's complete in and of himself. It makes a difference to you. And then the question then becomes, how do you serve God? What does it mean to serve God? And then I slowly found out that people didn't really know much beyond that point and became very uncomfortable and either had to shut me down, like saying, what's the point of talking about this? Like, okay. And I saw a lot of confusion. I had a lot of confusion. I'm not condemning anybody. I'm saying, let's learn this together. Let's explore this. So follow this channel if you want to go down the rabbi hole. As I said, a year and a half in the making. Hopefully I'll be able to start getting the perspective out there on a whole new level. I want to thank a few people out there that are hopefully watching this, who gave me the strength and support to finally push me over the top and make this video. More information on the YouTube channel to follow down the Rabbi hole. Everyone should have a great day, a great Shabbos, special Parshas Vayakel, speaking about gathering the Jews together. The only way to gather people together is when they're in service of a higher power, God himself. Thank you very much.